It's 6 in the morning. The alarm goes off, and you're faced with a choice. Throw off those heavy winter blankets and go for a run, or hit snooze and stay in bed. Most of us picture this choice happening in an internal boardroom. We imagine a little manager sitting inside our heads, carefully weighing the pros and cons of fitness versus sleep, and then making a final ruling. This graphic highlights how we typically think about this struggle. Notice the left side. We view it as a literal tug of war, with our immediate physical exhaustion pushing up from the bottom, crashing directly into our high-level fitness goals pushing down from the top. But when neuroscientists look at the brain, they don't find a centralized manager anywhere. There is no single control room where decisions are finalized. Thinking there's a little executive inside your head creates a logical loop. If there's a boss in your brain pulling the levers, who is inside that boss's head pulling their levers? There simply isn't an isolated observer tucked away inside your skull. If nobody is actually in charge up there issuing commands, we have to find a completely different way to explain how you ever end up deciding to get out of bed. To understand how this works, we can use an idea called the token-based model. Try picturing your mind not as a computer processing code, but as a vast three-dimensional mountain range. Instead of rock and dirt, this terrain is made of millions of tiny interconnected points. Think of these points as tokens. Each token represents a single piece of your experience, a memory of a warm bed, the concept of health, or the feeling of cold air. Look at the bottom. The thick arrows labeled perception, memory, and emotion act like underground springs, pushing on the terrain above. This pressure creates a landscape of relevance. The highest peaks become highly active, making them the most likely thoughts to enter your awareness. Your immediate environment and bodily sensations physically warp the shape of your mental terrain, making certain thoughts almost inevitable while burying others. This raises an obvious question. If your thoughts are just riding on a wave of physical sensations, how do you ever form complex plans, like training for a marathon? Those complex goals live in an area called the prefrontal network. In our map analogy, these abstract intentions aren't floating in the sky above the landscape. They form the absolute highest, most complex peaks within the mountain range itself. Notice these large circular arrows. When a peak representing a high-level goal gets activated, it doesn't shout orders at the brain. Instead, its energy simply rolls back down the slopes, feeding into and waking up the lower, simpler networks in this broader mental landscape. This diagram illustrates how the entire process comes together. On the right side, you can see an infinity loop. The immediate physical sensations push up, and the abstract goals flow back down. They are two halves of one continuous flowing circuit. The desire to get fit exists as a natural ripple moving through the system, rising out of your biology and washing right back into it. Because this process relies entirely on the shape of the terrain, it explains why you and your neighbor can look at the exact same situation and have completely different reactions. 4 distinct pathways, genetics, development, learning, and physical state, feed into the system. At the intersection of these architectural lines and ridges, your experiences act like water cutting through rock, carving a unique arrangement of peaks, valleys, and pathways that belongs to you alone. The way you experience a thought, a sudden worry, or an idea is completely tied to the customized geography of your personal mental map. Because everyone's map is carved differently, the energy moving through it will naturally pool and flow in different directions. In the left diagram, a broad abstraction network's wide-reaching connections let energy travel far, helping you see the big picture and plan ahead. On the right, a concrete reasoning network's tightly clustered nodes anchor energy, allowing deep focus on practical details and step-by-step problem-solving. One layout isn't better than the other. They are simply different architectural strengths, molded by whatever your brain has needed to survive and thrive in your specific environment. This brings us back to 6 in the morning. That final moment where you either tie your running shoes or pull the blankets up happens as energy floods from these unique mental channels. This rolling, continuous wave of energy pushes you forward, guided by the specific ridges and valleys of your lived experience.